welcome to episode 4 of Our Greener Pastures. My guest today is David. David moved to Canada as a student, and in the process of him being in Canada, he had some terrible news from home. He lost his dad, and things just changed for him from that point on. He had to work a lot of crazy jobs to make up his school fees as well as fend for himself. David talks about how reading and taking advantage of every opportunity that was presented to him along the way from school to after school has helped him progress so much and gotten him to where he is today. This episode is very, very special. And yeah, I just hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much. Hi, David. How's it going?
I'm good. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for agreeing to do this with me. I know your story is so interesting, and I feel like a lot of people can learn one or two things from what your relocation journey has been like. So, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to do this. I think this is a great, like platform and idea.
All
And
right.
yeah.
Thank you. All right, now let's get into it. I always like to start these conversations with like right from the beginning. So, at what point did you decide you were over Nigeria or it was time to leave Nigeria? Like, did something happen or what happened? Like, why did you leave Nigeria basically?
So I think for me it was like when I went to the US first. So this was like a university, and
Mm-hmm.
I had like a cultural exchange program. So I had the opportunity to travel to the US with a couple people from school. Going there where we had a job at McDonald's, it was like my parents were wondering like, what's this boy doing? Why did you do this? But I think like leaving and then seeing the stark difference and just like the earning potential, even when you're doing like menial jobs, compared to people who were in banks, and like seeing people just leave the standard of living, coming back and like finishing school, like I already knew that there was not like I'm like at that point I'm like this country doesn't make sense because it's as soon as
Really?
your value
Wow.
double.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is right. You're not wrong, but I'm just surprised that from uni you already had it in your mind that there's nothing in Nigeria for you. And yeah, you're definitely right because I know I've spoken to a bunch of people out here that are doing like customer service jobs and they are getting like $4K every month. And I'm like, huh? Like
Hmm.
I'm like in Nigeria, you can never. Yeah, so you have a point. So at what point did you leave? Like, did you leave after uni? Did you work in Nigeria for a while? What was that? What's that story?
So I basically left 2017 to Canada. That was when I moved like completely. I was going to the States and coming back, and then coming to Canada for school was the main, like, okay, I'm leaving. And Canada has pathways where, you can get postgraduate work permits, you can get into the system. So that was like when I basically left and just never looked back, left with a bucket full of hope. And
So
then,
after you finished uni, you came back to school in Canada.
yes,
That was your
came to
part.
school.
Really? So what did you do? Did you like a master's program? What program did you get into?
Yeah, going to a postgraduate diploma,
Oh,
and
okay.
I did this in Niagara. Because when I was trying to come, I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to pay my fees? Like this wasn't something that my parents were going to be doing for me. Like I was basically trying to figure it out myself. So I
Wait,
tried to.
we need David. Like, I feel like we're skipping the story, so we need to just start from the beginning. So you decided I'm going back to school, and then it was you had to take care of yourself,
Basically. So I lost my dad when I was in the US,
right?
and then um, but at that point I already knew like either I because some people would go to the US and stay. So
Mm-hmm.
there are lots of people who went through that program, and basically the Jabba terminology where it's like they're not coming back, or they go figure them out, they try to do it. The people that we know in our circle that basically left, some of them got into the military, some of them, figured it out like, the way they do it in the US.
Or got
And
married, yeah,
married exactly.
yeah.
So,
So why
people
didn't
did
you
all
do
the
any of that? You just didn't see yourself doing that.
yeah, I didn't see myself doing that. And I think at that time I had fallen in love with somebody, and that
Oh,
was like
okay. You had a girlfriend.
I had a
Okay, okay.
girlfriend. and
I
then
mean, there are people that have partners, and I mean, they get married. It's for
you
paper
really
now.
do.
So,
Hmm.
I
That's
mean,
tough.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I
I just need
understand
somebody
that.
doing that. And then I remember just hearing about Canada and like how you could go to school, get a postgraduate work permit, just that path. You know, the express entry is one path,
Yeah,
the coming through school is one path. So when I started researching that and I was working in the US making money, I was like, you know what, this could be an option. This could be something we do. Even though I didn't have the full complete money for the whole thing, I knew if I went there, try to apply myself into the system, like doors will open and I'll be able
doors will
to figure
open
it
for you.
out.
Yeah, definitely. So you came to school, and how long was your school for? How long were you in school
two
for?
years.
A year?
2 years.
2 years. Oh, okay. Oh, really? Ah, I used to think like postgraduate diploma was actually just a 1 year program.
Yeah, so basically there were 2 year programs and there were 1 year programs too as well. I went for the 2 years because I was sticking to the strategy of trying to get the PGWP
What
or
is
the
that?
postgraduate work permit.
Okay. So if you do the 1 year, you don't get the work permit.
If you do the 1 year, you get 1 year. If you do 2 years, you get 3 years.
Oh, right, 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 right. So you just
Mhm.
wanted to make sure like you had like you were making the most
Of the exactly the
of the
opportunity.
opportunity you got. Mm,
Yeah.
okay, that's nice. That's interesting. So you came to school. So how was that for you? Like, I mean, having schooled in Nigeria and then coming back to school here, like, was there any culture shock? What, like, was the
That
learning
was different though. Hey, in Nigeria, your professors want to fail you.
right?
While here, you can literally feel like they want you to pass.
Mm,
So it's like I went from like being in an, I mean, we're smart first of all. So like coming here and like I remember being in Babcock and more, it was tough. And coming here is like, oh man, I'm a crackle. I'm like the most, I'm killing everything, finishing with like honor roll because they'll give you like cheat sheets. They'll give you all these things to prep you for tests. And you're like,
right.
wait, they're giving me all these things and the test is tomorrow. They're basically giving me the answers for the test. You know, it was a more enabling, like the way they did it, the platforms you had like access to black tab, like it was different. So learning here, I think, was good, and like I felt like it was a much more better experience than Nigeria.
Okay. And the course you were doing, were you doing something that's like how did you like I just when people come back to school for relocation, I just always wonder like do you pick a course that you feel like oh I can easily get a job, or do you just pick a course based on I mean I'm just going to pick the cheapest one, like this is all just for relocation, like what was that process like for you?
So for me, it was like trying to figure out what I could do to make money.
Mm,
So what were the like jobs? So I already had my skills of accounting. So I was in business. I wasn't trying to go too far. And I'm like, okay, what are the things I could do to make money? How can I apply my skills? If I'm going to pay for school this time, what do I even feel passionate about? What do I want to?
yeah.
So I went the sales and marketing route because I already felt like I had like public speaking skills. I had like those skills that were like core to like being able to be successful. When I look up, oh, like top business like jobs that pay like salespeople, like they say they make money. So I was like, like I started looking into like what does it mean to sell, and then doing that whole research and coming in, did the sales and marketing, applied to like some of the competitions that existed here. Like I did the Great Canadian Sales Competition. I did a couple competitions that allowed me network and break into the ecosystem. So when I did get into sales, I didn't start selling because I think sales is also about what you sell
Yeah.
and like the industry you're in, like the product. So like I was lucky to start working in like a good space, and like that helped me like make money, settle.
Yeah. Okay, before we get into like you making money, I just want to really understand like the process of coming. So, you applied. Do you mind like how much was your school fees? And if you didn't have the money, how were you able to pay? Were you going to school and working to like get money to pay your fees? Like, what was that like? What did you have to do?
Yeah. So school fees was like 16,000, 17,000 thereabout.
Hmm.
And is that me?
I think that's me. Sorry.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Um, School fees was 17,000 thereabout, and I worked. I think that's me.
Okay, I think that's you. Yeah.
I need to figure out how to turn it off. It's my laptop. Okay, and I sorry about that.
No worries. It sure doesn't. Do you know what? Let's just keep talking. So,
Keep my computer on sleep. Anyway, so I came in. So when I was in the US, I was saving up money because I had already part of the research was looking at the school fees because you can't come. You know the saying of like the cow will leave Nigeria and become a corn beef. So basically,
I've actually never
plan.
heard that saying before. What does that even mean?
Basically, it's a meme that was like when you leave. Basically, the cow left Nigeria and became a corn beef in the US,
Right.
meaning like it was tough, you had to like adjust or change.
Mm,
You don't want to suffer or like struggle. Like my planning came from financial, okay, researching how much rent was going to be, where I was going to go, researching like the school fees. So it was 16,000 thereabout. I came in with just 1 year, and I remember talking to people, and they're like, Omo, you can't make that money, because I need like they give you 20 hours to work, right?
yeah.
So I was able to get a job on campus, so that didn't count towards like I joined the student administration council, so I was making like $800 a month for just being in council, and then I was also working like a part-time job. I was doing a lot, and in
Wait,
the
we
summer.
need to break this down because I like right now as I'm speaking, I know a couple of people that are in school now and they're kind of stuck because they don't have money to pay their fees. They're kind of having to crowdfund and all of that. And I feel like a lot of people don't know this information. So just
Mhm.
I don't even know if all these things still exist. So you join the Student Administration Council, and to be on the
Correct.
council, you get paid.
You get paid, and they usually like you run for the office, so like you
Right.
run, so it's like you have to get voted in. So
Mm,
because of the friendships I made, somebody the first day of me being in school, and mine was just luck. I was working like in the library, and I had friends who were in council, and I was just very active in like what was happening in school. I would volunteer, so like they knew me in that ecosystem. And then I was in an act too, so I was in a couple groups. So when somebody got fired from the council, director of student relations, somebody came to me. I was like, "Hey, this post opened up. We think you're going to be a great fit." And then they were like, "Okay, I should apply to like get it." And they basically just got me in. That was how I came into the council in my second semester of my first year. And then my
wow.
second year, I
Mhm.
ran for vice president and and won.
And you won. Oh my god. That's amazing. And like what other jobs were you doing? Because I know you have like 20 hours to work. So you were working your 20 hours apart from the student council thing.
I was working 20 hours. I was doing retail. I was working at Brooks Brothers selling suits. And
Mhm.
then after that, I would work on campus. And on campus jobs were like working at the gym. Look when you're going to a school, look on that school's website. They have jobs there. I already applied for these jobs even before I came to Canada. I was
Wow.
already applying for the job because I already knew because my whole American experience was hustling. So like I just basically had the blueprint of okay, like some things that I experienced in America. Shout out to Utman, man. The first night we got to America, this boy walked almost like 40 minutes, came back with a bicycle. All of us were still chilling, like, oh, no, we don't laugh at before. And I see my guy coming with a bicycle, and I'm like, what? Why does he have a bicycle? He didn't click till the next morning we had to go to work. And everybody was walking, and this guy was riding
Was
bicycle.
riding his bicycle.
I was like, whoa, some people are like steps ahead, in the way they plan, but he had come there before in all fairness. So he already know most of us was our first time. So anyway, my point is the fact that I had gone to the US, I already knew how the system worked. And I knew that time is money. You have to apply yourself. You have to like raise up your hand, look for the opportunities, try to like,
Yeah.
connect the dots. So I was able to get a job on campus, work off campus. So all of that helped me like make rent, have savings, and then in the summer, when you do get full 40 hours, I went overtime. I didn't just do 40 hours. Also, here is the hack. I was in the service industry when I worked in the US, so I worked in a restaurant. and I saw servers make money, make tips. Literally, I'm like, how can I be a server? I googled it. In Canada, you have to have smart serve. I went
Right.
online and I did the smart serve certification. It's like $50, and I started serving so I could make tips. And when before the summer came, I had already started making plans and speaking it to people. There was a career coach that liked me, and she basically called like some really fancy restaurant, um, hotel plus restaurant where the Queen had come, the Queen of England, Queensland in Niagara. So I served there, and I was making tips of like 500 a night, 400 a
No
night.
way.
Yeah, and like I also then those tips were very sporadic. So like it was like I would only get it Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and they would be like maybe once in a month or once
Yeah.
in weeks. And I wanted more consistency. So I actually had to leave that place and I worked for a place called Backyard. It's been a while, but it was a chef owned restaurant that would do a full tasting menu. Just one person's meal is like 200. So if you come with a couple, usually they spend like 300, 400, and then people tip. Niagara is like a huge tourist
It's a
attraction.
tourist. Yeah, it's a
So
tourist city.
people are
Yes.
tipping. Like I was making some nights 300, some nights 400. Literally, I got to the point where I had 15K in my account, and every money I got from my paycheck, I would literally just go and pay it into. I didn't even buy new boxers, new things like. I'll just pay the money to the school, paying the money to the school. Every money I make, I'll pay to school, pay my rent. And yeah, like when the next year came for school, like I had some of the money, and I had most of the money. I had like 15K out of 17K thereabout. So the rest was just a more. I'll fly,
Wow. That is that. I mean, for lack of a better word, that's a good thing, but that is crazy. Sorry. That is
Yes.
very like that is but I guess it. You have to do what you have to do. I just want to ask, I mean, coming from Nigeria, you know the way Nigerians can be. A lot of people just don't see themselves doing this kind of job. And I wonder, like for you, how did you feel did you feel, I don't want to say somehow because somehow doesn't really explain it, but did you feel like what the hell am I doing? This is not what I'm supposed to be
Mhm.
doing in my life. Like, or you
Mhm.
just had your eye on the big picture and you were just like, oh, this is just for like what was that what was that experience like?
I think that's a great question because what you just asked, I think most people experience and you go through it. I already went through that, like in the US when I was working at McDonald's. I had to quit that job and I couldn't work there because I was like, this is not why I finished school. Like, what's
Hmm,
going on? Like, there
exactly.
was even the nights when I stayed, I was crying, and my mom was like, "Oh, well, you can come back home, oh," because culture in Nigeria, like, imagine you're working in KFC in Nigeria.
Exactly. Or Chicken Republic is like, I went to
Mhm.
university. What do you mean? Exactly.
Exactly. So, I already like I had. You have to break that and like get out of that. So I already had that experience in the US. And then I also knew that there were some jobs that will absolutely crush you and you have to preserve yourself. Like when I initially came, I worked in a restaurant that was giving McDonald's vibe and I left. Like I know the kind like you when you have that experience, I'm not saying that somebody should go there and kill themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um find the ones that you can manage because some jobs will absolutely crush you. And you know, manage yourself and take care of yourself, but still find ways to like, make something work for you, take advantage of the system, get other opportunities, open other doors. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I passed that point to where I was like, damn, like I went to school, how can I be doing this?
But I mean, like, I feel like my question is still like, when you were doing that, did you already have like a plan at the back of your mind that, like, oh, I know this is just for a short period, and
Yes,
like, did
because
you
I had.
already have like a lot of people have someone like me now? I have a big picture in my mind. Like when I start something, I'm like, yeah, this might seem beneath me for lack of a better word right now, but I know I have to pass through this to get to where I want to go. So like, did you like have that at the back of your mind? And how was it like when your friends ask you, oh, David, what are you doing in Canada? Like, was it easy for you to actually open up and say, oh, I'm a server? Or do you understand my question?
Mhm. Yes, no, I felt like I had already like for me, I'd already done the worst when I was in the US,
Right.
and I had the bigger picture in my head because I knew that I was just trying to pay my school fees. I would even introduce myself that way. I would even say this to people I was serving to because I had I
Mm,
loved to read. I had read so many books and I read about being able to manifest things by speaking them into existence. So sometimes the fact that I even told somebody that, oh, I'm working to pay my school fees, they tip me more.
yeah.
They give me they offer me favor. I met a family that literally gave me $700 in one night.
Wow.
You know, like I wasn't ashamed. I was posting on Instagram,
I guess
I wasn't
ashamed is what I was trying to avoid saying, but yeah, since you said it, yes.
yeah, I wasn't ashamed. But obviously, I wasn't posting those horrible times that I'm cleaning
Of
spoons
course.
and, you know. But I knew I was able to pay my rent. I was able to put some money towards school,
Mm,
and I knew that I wasn't doing that forever. Like I knew that I was going to finish school. I was going to try and get a better job.
yeah.
So there were days where I felt horrible. Like I worked from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. Like because I was working like literally like in the summer. I had a job where I opened the retail store and it was like 9 and I was trying to ask them to give me better shifts and they didn't give me better shifts. Actually, I missed this part. I quit that job and I went to work in a hotel that I saw was opening close to me because I figured hotels are going to need front desk people, and if I'm doing the minimum wage, all I need is to have a job that allows me to start as early as 7 so I can take advantage of the whole day. So I tried to get the best shift at the hotel. I was part of the people that built that hotel with them, like made the carts. I remember even taking pictures and send it to my friends, like when I was making carts. And, like I was just trying to be smart. So like I was like, okay, if I can have a job from 7 to 3, even though I loved selling suits and it was a much more chill job, you're wearing a suit, selling a suit, you feel sleek, but they weren't giving me good shifts. And I wanted to be able to work 7 to 3 so I could start the evening shifts in the restaurant at 4 till 12,
Right.
sometimes 5 till 12, sometimes 5 till 2 in like on busy Saturdays. So there were days where I literally was working from 7 a.m. I wake up by 6, get to the hotel by 7 to help to get the night shift out. And then I'm there till 3, get in my car, drive, like thank God I live 10 minutes away, drive home, change. Sometimes I won't even go home depending on how tight this I'll change in the car, go to change my shoes, wear Skechers, wear something comfy, go
Go
to
to your
the
7 job.
seven job. We'll start prepping plates. We'll start helping them set up the restaurant. People people start coming. Like it was tough. Like I even
That was
lost my.
grind, man. You were
It was
grinding.
time. I
Like,
was. It was tough. Like I would get home and there were nights where like I would cry. I was like, God, why did you give me such a hard path? And then I
mm,
would wish like my dad was still alive. There were like moments where like I said, you would feel crushed. But the fact that I knew that like this was I had my why, so like I already knew what I was trying to get out of this,
yeah.
and I already knew that like I wasn't. This is not forever, right? So like those were things that helped me like go through that.
Wow, wow. Like that is very inspiring. I mean, thinking about where you are today, but before we get there, now let's just talk about school, finishing school, graduating, and like finding, would I say, your big boy job? Like after, like now you have the marketing and sales degree. So after that, what next? What did you do next? Were you still working all these jobs? Because now you've paid your fees, you're done. What next?
hmm So the next phase was the next year when I already ran for vice president, became the vice president. Instead of making slightly more than what I
You
was
were
making,
before. Mm.
I went for the Great Canadian Sales Competition, where and also like the Ontario Marketing Competition. I have some of the awards here, and I won that competition. I won International Business Place, and there were lots of companies that came because it was sponsored by companies.
Right.
So that like was pivotal in me being able to like get a head start. So essentially, like finished like when finishing school, those competitions put me out there. I went to that competition with a resume. Like the resume is still even here with a
Like
resume, and then with a business card that I had
like you
made
made
with.
your own business card to give to employers.
Yes, like I was giving them, like, look, I was giving them my business card, like marketing professional, like because I like the school. Okay, another thing about the schooling I had was it was also practical. So like I was learning how to use Wix, how to like do things, like use like things that you could use to be like Canva, like all the marketing skills. Like I was able to apply them, and then I had a resume, I had a business card. I was a clean looking guy, went for a competition, came first in a sales competition. So I was shaking hands, asking for jobs. So there were like VPs of sales, people there. So by the time that whole process finished, I had three job offers, and I hadn't even finished my exam in school.
Wow.
I already had a job like
Waiting
in
for you.
Toronto, in Etobicoke. So I had to choose. I was like trying to figure out, okay, should I choose one? It was one was a company in Brampton, another one was a company. Thank God I eventually chose the company I chose because that then gave me the opportunity to be out there and then get poached by a tech company. Um,
Mm. I guess
but
my question would be like, where did you get that confidence? Like, because I don't think I can ever go for like I work in sales as well, but I don't think I can ever put myself out there to go for a sales competition. I would just feel like, where did that confidence come from? Was this still part of you thinking of your bigger picture, or just taking whatever opportunity you had in front of you? Like, where did that come from?
I think I was in a sink or swim moment in my life
Right.
where I knew that I couldn't go back home. There was nothing to fall to here. There was no mom, there was no dad, there was nobody to call. So like a lot of the excuses that people would make,
Mm,
like I couldn't make those excuses. Like I had to make a way. I had to like basically like I was doing it to survive. I watched Giannis Adetokunbo's documentary
mm,
where he was like people were playing basketball because they were like like for him it's like he's playing because he knows he can be broke, like basically like he's playing for his life. So that was the same vibe for me. It was like this is when I realized that when artists drop out of school, like that whole thing actually sometimes shapes their career and helps them because when you
go,
have no other
yeah.
like you have to do it. So it was a I have to do it. I have to make it. I have to put myself out there. I have to try to get the best job. I have to make myself stand out more than anybody. I would not have an opportunity like this again if I have spent over 10. And I think paying for the fees myself also made me want to take. It's like if a teacher is speaking, I can't hear. I'm like, please repeat yourself because I've just paid 16,000. Like I can use that
Yeah.
money to buy anything else.
Yeah.
you know. Um, that mindset made me want to take advantage of everything.
Everything.
Like
Mm,
VP, all the trips that I went to UBC, they flew us to. They would take us to like vacation because I was in the student council. Like, so we sit with the dean and with the everybody that runs the school. So like, I was really like enjoying school. I had an office on campus. um, I would be like in initiatives that were led to help students, like maybe get
yeah.
better classes. So like the experience was really good and it puts you out there. Um, so in doing that, like I already was public facing. I would give speeches at events in school. So like going for that competition already made me like, okay, now I'm pitching in front of judges, and like we're talking about different things. We're doing a pitch. Um, so that already helped me like get out there. I was learning and reading books like Anthony Robbins. There was a book I read, Awaken the Giants Within. Amazing book if anyone is trying to like develop themselves. Like that book changed my life, and like I stumbled on that book when I lost my dad. And usually, like when you go through loss, sometimes it could help you, or it could destroy you.
It would
So for me,
destroy
it was like
you. Yeah. I
that.
mean, I didn't want to really delve into you losing your dad. I'm so sorry about that. But did you think because you lost your dad, it just made you more agile and more like, I need to make it in life? Like, did you I know this is not really part of the conversation, but I just want to have like a broad understanding of your story. Like, did that really make you feel like, bruh, you're a man now, you need to figure it out for yourself?
Yes, it felt like the ball had been passed to me and the ball is in my court. Like
Mm,
now it's like basically like your play. When they
yeah.
pass the ball to you, like they throw the ball to you. Now you have the ball in your hand, and you're like, okay, you need to make a move, you need to make a run. So that was how I felt.
I mean, I love hearing that from you. I mean, it's a sad story, but like, it's funny how you took that and turned it into something good for yourself. Because I know a bunch of people that lose like a family member and their lives just go from, it just really turns around a 360 and not necessarily for the positive. Do you get what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
I mean, that's very inspiring. I hope somebody out there is inspired by this. Like, yeah. So now let's talk about like you've finished school now, like your first job, like your first day on the first job, like that wasn't like retail, or it wasn't like a job that you were struggling to pay your fees. It was more like, oh, now it's time to build my career. What was that like?
So my first job, my salary was like, I think first, let me say, when you're in school, you're like imagining that, me, like, man, I was like, when I start working, someone's going to pay me 50,000. Hey, I'll buy this, I'll buy that. Like, you think it's so much money. So my first job actually was like 50K, 60K thereabout. And they will pay
Oh,
tax.
of course.
I moved, I moved into the city. Rent was way more expensive. I quickly realized that this money was not good enough. And I mean, I was still going to make commissions, but initially, the first year, my commission structure hadn't been really laid out. And I feel like they were also trying to take advantage of me because I was new and young. They got me while I was still in school. I hadn't even graduated.
Yeah.
And they had recruited me through their connections because my company sponsored the Great Canadian Sales Competition. So anyway, I got in and I was making like 50K, 55K, and I was sad. I realized that, man, like just making this money. I had 1 year of just making like flat out like 60K, and it was just like I come to a cubicle. They were like, I was still like an inside salesperson at this point, and I'll be making
So
calls,
you were
not just like
cold calling, and oh my god,
cold
yeah.
calling, yeah. And yeah, like it was really sad. Like, and I was the only one in the whole department because we were just building the sales team. So they opened a whole new role and hired me as the first person. And then in that whole process, the company acquired another company, and I was the first person they brought in as an inside salesperson in this acquired company.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, some of the biggest accounts needed help. And the manager there always saw me come in. This guy carries himself well, like he was like, he wants David to manage this account. Like, we need to give them somebody. We need to, like, the noise and the chatter was too much for him. And he was like, okay, like, so basically one day they called me into the office. This was even before the end of the first year. I think I worked for like 6 months in that 50K space. And then they called me into the office one day. They're like, okay, we want you to manage Hallmark and a couple of big accounts, Oxford Properties, and these are like the Bentalls. Like, these are the right now my company is building 10 Bay Street. That was an account. Like, that
Yeah.
was given those kind of accounts to manage. And half of it was not selling, half of it was just managing the relationship and back orders because I was in CPG, so consumer packaged goods. So a lot of it was like logistics, distribution. Um, so some of these relationships already were established. You just needed to like
Maintain
manage
them.
them now. Yeah, like make them happy, turn a sour relationship into a good one. So I got those accounts and started working them, and all the executives loved me. And then you know the business was good. I was doing well. I started making more money. So that 50K turned into like 90, 100. I started getting more because I was making money per commission.
From commission,
And
yeah.
then pandemic hit, and then our products became the most sought after products because I think I started working 2019 thereabout. Um, yeah, early 2019, and then pandemic hit in like a year after, and then with sales was just coming left, right, center. So um, it was a great time to be selling, and that experience taught me that you like selling. Half of selling is not just selling. You can have skills, but you want to be selling the right product. You want to be at the right place at the right time. There are waves. It's like when you think of surfing. When there's a wave, you want to catch the wave and ride the wave, and when
Mm.
there's a wave, and
So
basically that.
how long were you at this? How long were you at this job for? And I mean, like at that point, did you already start to feel like, more confident in yourself, like that, okay, maybe this relocation was not a bad idea after all?
Oh yeah, I think at that point, like the dots started to connect, and I got my postgraduate work permit. I had, like gotten to a point where even the people that were in Canada before me, and now it's like, okay, I'm working a job that I'm making money just like them, or almost as much, or even more in
Yeah.
most instances. So I ended up that the path I chose also like was one where you could maximize your earnings, in the sense that some people got a job and they were making 50K. They signed that job offer 50K, 60K, and that's it for the whole year. 12 months, nothing changes. That you get the same pay. I was in the space where I could make 10K in a month, 5K. Like, so it was very stressful because you never knew how much you're going to take. So you had to like develop skills like saving, planning. Because I realized quickly that I was having anxiety because of money, but at the same time, I ended up still making more money, but it's never guaranteed. Like, sales is maybe for example, if you're getting paid 200K, you're like, okay, your base is 100, your
Yeah.
commission is 100.
And you have to work for the remaining 100 in commission. Yeah.
Mhm. So this is my structure then, being in the low level. I think at some point I had a 25K base. It's like when you go on my daily bread, do I have to work?
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so I
Mm.
think at that point I realized like I was gonna be fine, or like at least I started doing well when I started saying that, okay, like I'm doing my TIFA. I'm like, wow, this is what I try to do, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's now talk about moving to your next job. Like, how many jobs have you had so far since graduation till now?
so
Two jobs. Okay, so this is your second job. So how did this one come about? Like, the your next job, did you apply? Like, what was that about? Did because I would say your first job came about by just putting yourself out there and
mhm.
going for the sales competition, and you got that. So for the second job, how would you say, how, like, did you feel like it was time to move to something else? How did that come about?
Yes, so I felt like it was time to move to something else, and I got a phone call from California one morning. That's how I got my. That's like a recruiter called me, basically saying, "Hey, like we have an open role here." But to back it up and kind of give more context into what was happening and just general, I think the thing that aligned that opportunity to me, I was always posting on LinkedIn, so I
Mm,
was like a social seller, you know, and I had a professional LinkedIn profile. I would post like new innovation, just like different things in the industry, and I would follow my contacts, like my main stakeholders that I worked with, so that they could see what's new. Sometimes, like I would even get sales through LinkedIn. They'll just respond to a post. So recruiters will follow you, right? So I turned on also my looking for a job, like the one that it doesn't show, and I started softly just applying for random jobs um online. I'll just LinkedIn, click apply. So I started interviewing, but one day I just got a call from California, and I was like, "Who's this?" I thought it was a scam call. I thought the person
mhm. Yeah.
was like, I'm calling from Salesforce." But I'm like, "Huh?" And then I'm like, "What's your name?" And then I check LinkedIn and I see that he just viewed my profile like a day ago. I'm like, "Oh, like this is actually legit." And we started talking, and that conversation, that was the first. And then I think I started going through the interview process. It was like 5 interviews or 5 different meetings like that. So
Mm,
that call, 5 weeks later, I was in a new job.
wow.
Um, in that first call,
Yeah. So
and
let's just, I mean, I really want to, I love the fact that you mentioned LinkedIn, because I know when you move to a new country, everybody keeps telling you, oh, make sure you use LinkedIn, blah, blah, blah. But from what I'll get from what you said is you were communicating value on LinkedIn. You were not just posting random stuff. Like, you were actually posting the work you were doing. You were posting things that were tangible. So even when a recruiter says that, they already know what your skills are and things like that, right?
mhm.
Because nowadays, I just see a lot of people posting random things on LinkedIn. Like, people are posting their birthday. People are posting. I don't know. I don't know if they think that's what's going to get them a job or whatever. Because I mean, people just say, "Oh, use LinkedIn." Like, people don't actually break it down like how it truly works. And then I love the fact that you said you were posting your job. So it's more about communicating the value, what you bring to the table in terms of like sales and work and things like that. That you feel
Yes,
that was why you got the interview with your new job, right?
yes, I felt like it was communicating my soft skills
Your soft
online.
skills. Mm,
So basically showing that I'm a professional seller, like, you know, the whole idea of being able to sell is like building a reputation that puts you as a subject matter expert, or like, a resource that can actually advise your clients.
right.
So I was doing that online, and for them, they were looking to get the best of the best people.
Yeah.
Um, so I would have posts on LinkedIn that was just talking about maybe new innovation in my industry. Also, I was selling like IoT solutions. I was selling autonomous technology, which is like those big industrial like machines that clean spaces themselves. So imagine when you go to an airport, you see
Yeah.
those things that just go cleaning the airport themselves. So those were the things I was selling, and I'll post some of this post, and it will get like 100 likes, 120, like 150. And that time, even till now, I think when somebody likes something on LinkedIn, it shows another person's
Yeah,
feed.
it does. It does. It shows your followers like somebody liked something. Yeah.
So I was getting good engagement. So I feel maybe that's how he found me. And recruiters too will go on LinkedIn. There's a way you set up your profile. If they type account executive or something, it will
They
show
see
them most
that.
of
Yeah.
your act might come up in the first page or something like that. So maybe like I feel like recruiters are also like looking for money. It was an
Yeah, because
interesting.
obviously they get paid with people they employ and things like that. Yeah.
The more, the better you look online. If the easier it is to sell you as a person, the easier it is for them to like pitch you to a hiring manager. You go on the interview, the hiring managers are looking at your LinkedIn and they're like, oh, okay, this person looks credible. Your social like history looks like they go, oh, okay, they can see it. They can already see you like
Yeah.
pitching their own product.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now, that's very interesting, and I love that you said that because I mean there are lots of crazy information out there, but I hope people can really see it's not just about posting random things on LinkedIn. It's about really showcasing what you do and what you can do potentially. Yeah.
You're
Um.
throwing shade. Yeah,
Sorry.
I said, are you throwing shade at
No,
somebody?
I'm not showing shade. No, I mean this is like a for me. This is like a very informative podcast for people to just understand like what the realities of relocation truly is. Like you just don't come to Canada and start picking money on the road. You need to work. You need to put in the work. And from everything you're saying is because for somebody like you that moved alone to see how well you've done in. I mean, I'll say a short period, but I'm sure you say it's not a short period like
No, it's not.
exactly. I'm sure you say it's no issue. But I mean from
Honestly,
2017 to now it's I mean it's barely 10 years. So I'll say a short period. So it's just saying how you can progressively go if you keep showing up and keep doing what you're supposed to do. So yeah, that's really good to hear. So now I just want to talk about like your family back home or your friends back home. Like do you think relocation has affected those relationships? Do you think like you moving abroad as like now you're not close to people. And yeah, I remember you said when you first moved you had a girlfriend. Like did that relationship survive relocation? Like
no. So yeah, it's funny because I'm smiling hard when you talked about relationships and how it affected it. I lost. I don't want to be your podcast, but like I lost the love of my life.
oh my god.
I felt like that was like we were really in love, and she tried to come to Canada. She applied and she got denied twice, so almost three times. She ended up going to the UK. So it affected my relationships. It affected my like me and my girlfriend couldn't do the long distance, and we broke up. Um, and like I didn't see my family for 7 8 years. Um, I just went back to Nigeria like a couple years ago. I think last year actually.
Wow.
And like it affected me in ways that I probably don't even know or haven't realized too, because being alone for so long, and like sometimes I feel like one of the biggest things people who travel experience here is loneliness. If you didn't move here with like a spouse, if you moved there by yourself, um, on the holidays, like you see families
Yeah.
together, Thanksgiving, Christmas. When you're here all by yourself, Sometimes some people end up living in the basement apartment. You're just there by yourself, alone. So loneliness is something people never even realize could be a problem.
Yeah,
Um,
till they
so,
experience it. Yeah.
hmm
So what would you say?
so
Yeah, because I know loneliness is a big thing, and I love that you mentioned that because like that was what I was trying to segue into. So whoa, like how do you deal with loneliness? What how do you do that? What do you do?
you
Cause
can
and
make,
I'll even I mean I know you said people that have family, but I moved here with my family, but I would love you to know that even people that move with families also experience loneliness. Cause obviously your husband or your wife cannot be everything to you. You know how you have different you have your friends, you have your family, you have like you can't just put everything on that one person. So yeah, we also like it might just be a different kind of loneliness, but everybody experiences it with relocation. Like it's crazy, and I feel like it's not talked about enough.
hmm
But I mean, so
hmm
like, how do you deal with on days that everything just feels gloomy and you wish you were home or with the love of your life, like you said? Like, what, like, what do you do?
I think first of all, it's actually very interesting that even people who are married feel lonely, and it's actually crazy because I've been in a relationship where I felt alone.
Yeah,
So I think that's probably a whole different conversation. But in that regard, like you make friends, you try and join communities. You join the WhatsApp groups where boys are playing football or where boys are playing
yeah.
soccer.
I find that a lot of
Um,
guys have that, like playing football
yes.
communities. Yeah,
um, you go out for events. You try to meet people. And those apps. You use the dating apps if you're into that. Um, and yeah, like you just try to put yourself out there so that you're not feeling alone. Like
yeah,
it does happen, and once you realize that it's a thing, I think I realized at some point that damn, like I'm actually feeling lonely, and I tried to mitigate it. That was when I knew that I couldn't even do long distance because I don't think it's not easy, especially
it's
when you don't
not.
have the
It's not.
prospect of seeing each other. So just went out, try to make friends, try to join communities, try to build communities at some point to where you're like, okay, this is a gap in the space. We need more of this.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, that was how I handled it.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's good to know. But like a lot of us are scared to put ourselves out there. Yeah, but I mean, not me, Sha,
I know.
but people
Well,
that are
well,
lonely. Yeah.
they put
But
themselves out
yeah,
there.
you just need to go out. Yeah, yeah. And obviously, winter comes with gloom. Like
hmm
winter is so gloomy. Like yeah. So yeah. Now let's talk about like moments of doubts that you've had on your journey. Like were there moments that you really doubted yourself, and then like you were probably second guessing, like what the hell am I doing here? Like was this a good idea? Like did you have any of those moments, and how did you like get over it?
Yes, I did a lot of times, and I'll say the first piece was like just consistently trying to like put good things in my head. So
Mm,
there was a book I read that said if you don't feel yourself, like what if what you don't put in your head, if you don't put good things in your head, eventually something's gonna enter there. So that's the best way I can say. So basically, I would watch a lot of like motivational videos. I would read a lot of like motivational things. Like I'll read things like, for example, Think and Grow Rich, like just books that like would help you like just have a good sound mind. I did have a point where I lived in the basement, and that was the longest period of self doubt that I had. And I realized it was because I was under the floor. Like I realized I need lights. So
mm,
there's some things I'll never do in my life again, like leaving the basement. Um, I think that was the one period where I was like, I knew that I was going through like a very tough time. But as soon as I ended up leaving that space, um, life was better because sometimes you also have to realize that like even your environment plays a role in how you
it
feel.
does.
hmm
That's crazy.
And
Something as little as light.
yes, and like it took me 3 4. I remember calling my mom and be like, "Hey, like I'm like," and that was when I realized that the idea of a dungeon, like that's what dungeons are. Like it's designed to like weigh you down. You're under the floor. You don't
Mm,
feel inspired. Like I love having a good view. I love the sun hitting me in the morning. it reduces your cortisol level. There's like bare research that shows like the sun has an impact on our mood and so many other things. That's why we have the seasonal depression. So imagine then living in a basement for the whole of the year. I only stayed in that place for 3 months, and I left. That was the toughest time I felt like I went through.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, definitely, I've heard a lot of people speak. Like when I moved to Canada initially, I didn't understand why a lot of people used to emphasize lights. Like, I want a house that has big windows. I'm just like, why is that so important? Like, but now that I've lived here for what, going on 2 years now, I'm never going to like not have a house that has like big windows where the lights can come in, because I
Right?
definitely understand. And just even you saying what you put in your mind, yeah, it's funny that you said that, because my husband does this thing where all over his social media, all he has is like motivational quotes. Like the pages he follows have motivational quotes. On TikTok is like people saying motivational. How did that? I'm like, are you an old man? What the hell are you doing? Like, but like it was recently that I understood why he always seems like a happy person. Like no matter what's going on, like he always seems so motivated. And I just understand. Like it was then I started to understand that what you put in your brain really does manifest in ways you would never expect. Yeah, so yeah, I was just trying to back up your points. So
No,
now
and
let's,
I agree.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that's like key. That's
yeah.
so key.
It really does. It really does. Yeah. So can we just talk about some of your milestones and achievements so far? Like now is your time to gloat and maybe brag a little bit. Like I know you started like a lifestyle business. Like if you want to plug it here real quick, like I know you have like a lifestyle business you do, and I just want to know what's it like doing business here in Canada.
I think it's interesting. So
And
Lagos
also
and Toronto.
before you even speak about that, like why did you start that business? Did you feel like there was a need? Like what was that about?
So I remember when we talked about loneliness and then like joining communities. Like so basically the whole Lagos and Toronto idea. So Lagos and Toronto is a community that we started just to help connect more people together and basically like fill that gap where we felt like we didn't have the opportunities to like spend time with family, but we have our own little family here. We have our own little community where people can come together, share ideas, connect the dots, share resources. Because that knowledge share is very important in helping people who
Yeah.
have the same problem. Some people don't know how to ask questions. There's something that basically they say our questions shape our world. So some people don't know how to ask questions to people they're not familiar with.
Mm,
They easier to talk to your person where I'm all find
yeah.
out waiting that then and you get the download. Sometimes it's harder when you're not surrounded by people you're familiar with or people you feel comfortable with or you identify with. So that was the whole idea. And running a business in Canada has been challenging because Canada is expensive. Um, it's not like Nigeria where you can just get labor for free or do things
Yeah.
anyhow.
You have to pay at least minimum wage for everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now let's talk about Lagos in Toronto. Like, let's just shed more light. Like, what kind of events do you guys do? Like, what kind of events do you guys do? And what has the feedback for you been so far? Like from people? Because I mean, I've been to a few of your events, and I can like I understand. It almost takes you back to Lagos, like for that brief moment, and I understand why it's important. That's I'm not gonna lie. That's part of the reasons why I started this podcast, just because I just feel like a lot of times the stories are not shared, and when things are not going your way, it's easy for you to like internalize all of that and just feel like you're the only one going through whatever you're going through, be it maybe not getting the job you want yet, or not having enough money yet to really do. That's part of the reasons I started this podcast, just because I've spoken to quite a number of people, and every time I speak to people I just see that everybody has like a unique story. Even the people that you feel like they moved here and they got a job right then and then, it's always something else.
Mhm.
Yeah, so and then I feel like back home in Nigeria, obviously because you have your family, you already have your set, it's easy to just share with them and things like that. So I mean, just tell me, what kind of events do you guys host? How can people find you? How can people connect? How can people tap in? Things like that.
Yeah, so we host networking events and events like parties that bring people together. In the summer, we do like day parties. In the colder seasons, we do indoor parties. We also do networking events where people can come in, share ideas, and share stories. We have Instagram, Lagos and TO, across all social platforms, Facebook, Twitter. It's just Lagos in TO. And yeah, like I think just like you said, like honestly speaking, I feel like the feedback and the impact that we have, like I feel like it's been very fulfilling. And just like seeing people like get to meet people. I've met more people that I know from Nigeria through Lagos and Toronto. And
Mm,
they don't even know that I'm in Canada. We don't even know that we're going to see each other. We'll just run into each other and we're like, wow, oh my God. And and like we get to share that experience, share that interaction. um it feels like you're in your space, it feels like you belong.
mm,
I think it's so important for us to keep doing more, like even like you doing your podcast, like we need to share our stories, because if the hunters, I forget the way they say this thing, if the hunters don't write the story, or if the lion doesn't write the story, if the hunters write their story, the story will always exalt the hunter and never
mm.
the lion. So if the lions don't learn how to write, no one is ever going to write or say any story
Any
of any
stories
lion.
about the lion? Yeah, that makes so much sense. You're such a deep guy with all these quotes you keep dropping. All right, so now let's talk about your milestones and achievements. So milestones in terms of like what are some of the things you've been proud of yourself that you've achieved so far in Canada? I mean, the reason I like to ask this question is I mean, I need people to know that even though it might seem like when you started things were rough and things are tough, but now like I just want people to know there's light at the end of that tunnel. It might take 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, however amount of years, but yeah, just what are some achievements that you're really proud of yourself for so far?
I think, if I'm being honest, and I'm probably going to sound deep again,
Oh God.
but it's like I think it's that feeling of knowing that like liberation is the word. It's like just feeling liberated in my mind, and then also just like my finances, like knowing that one, like I am, like when you understand that the golden goose lays the golden egg, like realizing that I am the price and that I have the skills to make myself. There's something that I say when I go to work. I work for myself and for my family and for my loved ones. I don't work for anyone. Um, I think getting to that point where I realized that like I have the skills and I have the ability to apply myself, and knowing that, and then also working and having finances to a point where I felt anxiety early on, like when I started living by myself, realizing that okay, like man, you could get homeless, so if you don't have money for rent,
Mm,
and like for me, like there were certain milestones in terms of how much I needed to have in the bank, and how comfortable I wanted to feel, how much of a 3 year, like for example, like being able to not work today, like being able to leave a job and know that if I didn't work in the next 2 years, I'm gonna be fine, right? And that for me is like a feeling, and that is what I feel most like. That's like a milestone I'm proud of, or something that it gives me like content. It gives me joy. You know the way when I was like, they give me joy, like that part gives me joy. And then also like just learning how to invest and learning how to be resourceful. um and like those things also I feel like were achievements to me, that I felt like okay, like seeing myself get into the stock market, into crypto, and like take advantage of it, make money from those kind of things,
mm,
and like all that stuff has been like things that I'm like, oh, I'm proud of this, I'm proud of that. Getting a new car, all the things that like I dreamt of, that I wanted, like being able to now look back and like, okay, like I'm actually getting this thing small, small though.
yeah, that's very inspiring, and I love that your milestones and achievements were still kind of like tied to like self development. Like I feel like it just goes to speak on the kind of person you are. That's really good. That's really good. So I mean, like we're kind of rounding up now, but I have three more questions for you. Actually, it's meant to be two, but the first one is if you're gonna advise people like that's still trying to figure it out, like after relocating from Nigeria, if you could give them like one solid advice, one thing you say you need to do this thing, what would you say that is?
I would say take the leap. So I'll say actually two things. One, take the leap. Two, plan, but don't have analysis paralysis where you feel like you have to see the full picture. You feel like you have to have everything figured out. Like sometimes you might not have everything figured out. Take the leap, do as much planning as you can, you know, commit the rest to God's hands and just take the leap of faith. When you come here, as long as you show up, as long as you wake up every day and you decide to try to put yourself out there.
Mm,
There's a book I read that changed my opinion a lot. Usually we're like, oh, thank God for life. Like it takes it a step further to teach you that gratitude goes beyond just you being thankful for life, but you being thankful for one of the biggest gifts, which is choices. Like we get to make our own choices. And like knowing that if you show up, you put yourself out there every day, you have positive energy, you will it will work out. It will it will connect.
yeah.
Like you can't suffer forever, and like it will work.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow your footsteps now and drop a deep quote too. I don't know if you know, like, I feel like just kind of like summarizing what you said, it kind of reminds me of when Jay Z went to the Grammy and it was like, just keep showing up till they call you chief, till they call you chairman, till they call you. I feel like that's very important. Like, you just need to keep showing up. You just, like, the job you're doing might seem mundane, but just keep showing up. Like, you never really know where that's going to take you. Yeah. So I love that you said that. And, I mean, throughout our conversation, one thing I noticed about you is like you mentioned books a lot. You mentioned books quite a bit. So, I mean, I would just say if you have like, if you could recommend two books, right? Just two, because the way you've mentioned books, I feel like you've read quite a bit. So, if you could mention like two books that you feel like, with your relocation journey, with like discovering yourself now that you're somewhere else, things don't exactly work the way they were in Nigeria, what would be two books you recommend to people to just try to read? I even have my pen. I'm about to write it down because I'm also going to
That's
be
actually a
reading them.
good one. But I think the first one I would recommend is Awakening the Giant Within by Anthony Robbins. And I feel like that book would like change the way you see things, and it would also open your mind into like just how powerful knowledge is and how powerful the mind is. um and then the next one I would say is Think and Grow Rich.
Mm,
That's a good book
I've
too as
read
well
that book
because
actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was a good one.
yeah, yeah. All right. Thank you so much, David. And I have one final question. And this question, please, I don't want you to be motivational with this question. I want you to just say it's like looking forward. Like, what are some things that you're looking forward to in your life now that you feel like because you live here now, like you're able to achieve those things? It can be anything. Like, what are some things you're looking forward to in your life going like right now?
I'm looking forward to traveling visa,
Mm,
like being a citizen and just like being able to go to France, being able to go to Japan. Like I am looking forward to traveling and being able to go to different parts of the world. um and I think also being able to give my children, this is probably I don't mean this to sound aspiring, but just being able to give my kids the opportunity to be citizens of a different country is
mm,
something I'm also looking forward to. Like having kids that I'll now say, man, you're from Nigeria, but you're here.
you're
You know?
Canadian, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I love that so so much. Our Nigerian passport doesn't really do much for us, so I see where you're coming from. Yeah. All right, David, thank you so much. This was a very very inspiring conversation and I just hope people are able to learn one or two things from you or three or four, because you dropped quite a lot of gems and I really appreciate you for opening up and sharing your story. Thank you so so much.
thank you so much for having me. I think this is awesome. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing the podcast, hearing all the great things that's to come in the future. So thank you.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Bye. Um
Awesome.
Don't go. Please stay on the phone. Don't go yet. Osage, we're done. Is he there? I think I might need to call him
Okay, Colin.
to like stop the recording.
So you guys will still produce it, right? And like
Yeah, we're
post
still
it
going
on
to edit and all of that. Yeah.
Hulu.
Mm, 1 second.
Pretty cool.
Let me call his phone. Sorry, I know I was disturbing your meal, but thank you.
Oh no, you're fine. For sure.
Oh dear.
This was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. I really and like even me, I never knew you were a perspire to aspire kind of guy, but I like it. I actually
From
like it.
podcast, yeah.
I really like that. Like it just goes to show like how much work you've done like with personal development and things like that. I really love that.
Thank you.
'Cause
Yeah,
I
like
just
I
feel
have to
like
go to
Nigeria doesn't just give us that like a lot of us are in such in like you're so sheltered. It's more like Nigeria. Everybody's trying to find a connection that can just make them, as opposed to just doing the work on yourself.
hmm
Wow, thank you for listening to this episode. I did not know it was going to end up being a perspire to aspire or aspire to perspire episode, but I love it. I really loved it. I really enjoyed that. And a few things I would like to point out. It just shows like when opportunities are presented to you, like even if it might not be where you see yourself being, like in your bigger picture, just take the opportunities, man, because you just never know where life is gonna take you. And I'm really happy for David, really proud of the things he has been able to achieve for himself in, less than 10 years of living Nigeria as a young boy in like his early 20s, I believe. And just coming this far, it's crazy. Again, hindsight is 2020. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. And remember to follow us on Instagram at Our Greener Pastures _. And until next time, bye.